So, some legislative and regulatory facts about the BRS. So for the same reason that we just talked about in arbitration, that's why it's important to have someone with railroad experience present in all legislative and regulatory venues that affect our members. We talked about it earlier, but this perspective is paramount because we'll either go in and explain why what they're doing is a really good idea or why what they're doing is a really dangerous idea. On the legislative side, how do we do this? So our national has a very good track record of getting us a seat at the table where our issues that affect us come up. Whether it's a formal hearing or meetings of the transportation subcommittees, or even with the staffers, we do our best to be there. We also work hand in hand with other labor organizations to ensure we have the best presence we can have. Whether it's One Rail, the AFL-CIO weekly legislative meetings, the Transportation Trades Department legislative meetings, and all kinds of different other venues, we try and make sure that our legislative person is there representing Signalmen. And it's very important that we have a person up on Capitol Hill that has experience in what the job is. Mike Efaw is our current legislative director. He had close to 20 years out in the field, and he was a general chairman for the old B&O committee. And so when he goes up there, the difference between our legislative person who's a lobbyist and a lot of other places is that some organizations will hire a lobbyist to come in and advocate for them, and what they'll have to do is they'll have to find out what the talking points are and educate themselves on what they are before they go up and lobby. Our person knows the job, so he doesn't have to call anybody else and ask them what's going on. So if there's legislation that comes out that could be bad or potentially bad for the people that are working out in the field or for the public, he knows that, and he can speak on it intelligently. Just like if there's legislation that comes out that's good for us, like positive train control. Our legislative person was up there advocating and saying, well, that's a good idea. So one of the things I would note is that funds used for political campaigns are voluntary contributions made by the BRS through the Signalmen's Political League, and no union dues are used to support political campaigns. One thing that not everybody would know is that it's illegal to use union dues to support political campaigns. It's against the law. Your union dues have never and never will be used to support a political campaign. However, your union dues are used to support and pay Mike Efaw, who's our lobbyist, to make sure that he's up there representing Signalmen and letting them know if the legislation is good for us, why it's good for us, or if the legislation is bad for us, why it's bad for us. So the last thing I would note on our legislative director and our director of research is that they also attend hearings on Capitol Hill. So I don't know if anybody's aware of what happened in Cayce, South Carolina that's in here. But in Cayce, they did this thing called a signal suspension. And the short of it is that they were doing a cutover to put in positive train control. And the signal crew that was working ran out of time. They were on hours of service. So instead of bringing in another crew to finish what the job was, which was only a couple hours, they suspended the entire signal system, meaning that they told the trains to just ignore all the signals, okay? So, and they ran on this thing called track warrant, which means that they can run a maximum authorized speed without signals. We actually had the opportunity to go up to Capitol Hill and ask why they thought it was a good idea to suspend a signal system for a couple hours overtime. If they didn't suspend the signal system, this incident wouldn't have happened, so they had culpability in it. We got to go up and ask them why they thought that was a good idea.